Welcome to the BreakDown podcast. My name is Tony DADA, and today we are going to be breaking down extracts from the blog that I write every month. We do this BreakDown podcast for those of you who don't like reading so much, just to make you aware of some of the golden nuggets that we put, that we placed in the blog in its entirety. Hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll be curious enough to want to go over and read the blog in its full entirety. I'm joined by my young protege here, Natty, who often asks questions as a result of the blogs that I write, and this is why we decided that the questions that he's asking are probably questions that you might want to ask, and so here we go.
Yep.
So over to you.
So the title of this month's blog is called The Boss Life, and in The Boss Life you stated 5 tips on how someone can create their vision of their lives for themselves.
Yeah, and that's really based on the fact that I've realized, being in this space for some 30 years, that like everybody wants to live the boss life, really, secretly, whether they say it or not. But everyone would love to be in a position where they don't have to answer anybody, for their money. Like, they don't have to go beg no one for their money. They don't have to ask permission for their time and how they use it, and they can just do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's really, for me, the key. After 30 years of being in this space, I realized that this is the boss life. To be able to be free to choose what you want to do with your money and your time.
So basically live life on your own terms.
Pretty much, yeah. So that's really what I've been able to do. Been blessed to be in that space for the last 30 years, and I realized that more and more people want that for themselves.
Yes. So let's just get straight into tip 1, and it's create a grand vision.
Yeah.
So
that's based on the fact that I've come to realize that actually most people don't even know what they want. And so because they don't even know what they want, they can't even conceive of what they want. They can't even dream about it. They can't even create a vision that this is what I would like. And for those people, that small number of people that do create a vision, 9 times out of 10, the vision's not their own. It was something that has been supplanted into your brain, into your mind, that you want to have this car, or you want to have this house, or you want to have this kind of girl, or you want to have this kind of guy, just because of what society has said. Do you know what I'm saying? So number 1 is being able to create a grand vision. And really, inside of that, really what I'm saying is, you need to know what you want. You need to be able to figure out what you want, and that in itself is a whole process that we teach.
yes. Yeah. So by figuring out what you want, basically finding out what would you love to do without getting paid for it, not worrying about bills or something.
Yeah,
like
absolutely, because that's really where people fall down. I was blessed, and I always talk about this. It took me many years before I realized that the greatest thing that happened to me was 40 years ago when I met my spiritual mentor. And why was that? Why did it take me so long to figure that out? Is because I didn't realize that what he showed me was, you need to figure out what you love first. Like, what would you do freely? Like, what would you do just because you love it? Forget money. And of course, when you talk to adults, they think you're crazy and look at you like something's wrong with you. When you say money should be the last thing that you think about. And again, this is what we need to teach, and this is what we do teach in the Dada Success Academy, that there's a whole different approach to achieving success, which first of all comes by you completely changing your mindset.
Yeah. And once you've established that, your second tip is put faith into action. And I like that one.
Yeah,
What do you mean by that one?
so what I mean by that is, first of all, you've got to find out. So number 1, you've got to find out what you love.
Yes.
What are you passionate about? Like, what do you love? And like I said, many people don't even know what they love. But once you've identified what you love, then the next thing that you have to do is you have to prove that you love that thing.
Yeah.
What action? It's kind of windy up here, but it's still a good spot though. Yeah. So you have to put faith in action. I meet a lot of people of faith, supposedly Christian, religious of all sorts. But when I actually get into a conversation, and I've actually had people say to me through our GPS program, they're like, I've been a Muslim all these years, or I've been a Christian all these years, and you've taught me a whole new level of faith.
Right.
Because faith is something that you have to prove. Are you prepared to take your hard-earned money and invest in this idea, this vision that you've got? Are you prepared to work nights and cut your sleep right down because you believe and you have faith that if you put in the work, this thing's gonna pay off? If I'm speaking to you and you're telling me about this thing that you want to do, and I'm like, okay, how much work you putting in? You ain't putting in no time. You're not putting in any money. You're not making any sacrifices. I'm like, okay, yeah, you really want it.
I remember I read something on Instagram a few weeks ago, and it said, whatever idea that you have, bear in mind that there's someone working 100 times harder on that dream than you are.
Yeah, but here's the secret that people don't get. See, if you establish number one, and you're doing the thing that you love to do, you have an unfair advantage.
Okay.
Because that other person is going to be putting in the grind. But if you just, like, all right, you know, my background is the creative industries, music, singers. If you just love to sing, you'll be singing in your bathroom, you'll be singing before you go to sleep, you'll be singing when you're just walking in the park, you'll just be singing.
Yeah.
Well, you may have heard of the 10,000 hour rule, where they say to become an expert, you've got to put 10,000 hours in. Well, the other guy's trying to put the 10,000 hours in, like clocking it, but you're just doing it naturally.
Right.
You're going to get there much quicker than him.
Right.
And when 6 o'clock comes or 8 o'clock comes and they're ready to sign off the other person, you can keep going because it's like breathing to you. Like, do you clock on and off when you're breathing?
No.
You just do it. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's the unfair advantage. So don't be and many people be lying to themselves, like they don't know what they want or they're lying. That's even worse. Because if you find once you find what you love, you don't understand how that puts you just in a different league, and we can do so much crazy stuff with that.
Right. And that actually leads quite nicely into the third point, which is create structure.
Yeah. Well, once you understand what you love and you're passionate about it, and you're going for it, and you're doing it, then you need to create some kind of structure. So, in my story, what comes to mind is, so if some of you know about my background, there was a point where I was really passionate about wanting to create a platform for young, talented people across the UK who society had given up on, who were, they've been pushed to the side, been marginalized or whatever. And I was really passionate about that. I'm a singer-songwriter myself. I love music, so it comes naturally to me. Do you understand? Yeah. And so I'm creating these environments for people, and it's like, well, I'm finding that these singers were just wanting to really just go at it. And what started off as a simple South London project started to snowball into something bigger. By the end of like a year, we were right across London. Within a couple of years, it was right across the country. So what am I saying? What started off as a little project that I was doing by myself, it got so big that one of my guys said, listen, this ain't gonna work unless you create structure.
Yes.
You see my point? And I'm like, what do you mean? So he was like, well, why don't you set up as a not-for-profit organization? Because this time, I'm passionate, I'm loving what I'm doing, I'm putting all my money in this thing because I'm just loving what's happening.
Yeah. But
it's not making business sense. Yeah. So business sense, and this is one of the things I teach. So when you find what you love, you're passionate, and you put faith in action, then life compels you to, like, okay, we need to put structure. So I didn't know anything about structure, but I was forced to create a structure, and the structure that I decided to create was a not-for-profit organization, because I wasn't at the time doing it just to make money. I was doing it because I loved it.
Yeah.
And so I was advised to put a not-for-profit organization together. Here's the joke. I didn't even know what it was. But I loved what I was doing, and I was seeing the impact it was having on people's lives. I'm like, well, I'm running out of money. So if that's the only option, I'm gonna take it. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna take it. Within 6 months, we got a check from the Arts Council for £75,000. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about structure. And that single move of going for structure took us to a point where we raised, close to £2 million for young people across the country.
That's interesting because point 3 and point 4, they sounded quite similar to me, but they're different points. And the other point is establish order. So what's the difference between establishing order and creating structure?
Oh wow, that's deep. So how I can best describe that is like this. So many years ago, I studied over 30 years ago, and I have a degree in architecture, right? So let's look at a building. You can, if you want to build a building, right?
Yeah.
You need all kinds of material to build your building, right? Bricks, cement, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
So imagine you bought some land and you want to build this 3-4 story house building, and I deliver all of the things that you need to build. Every single thing you need, I deliver it to the site. But if you don't have someone who can tell you and help you build it in the right sequence and order, you're just going to be looking at stuff because nothing's going to get built.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the structure will be the result of applying the order, meaning you've got to lay certain things in the foundation first of all, and then you've got to put some screeding, and then you've got to put the brick and the framework and build the shell of you build the shell of the house. And when you've got that and you put the roof and everything's in order, then you now go in and you put your kitchen appliances in, and you put your electrical and your plumbing. Do you see my point? But everything has to be done in a certain order. If you build the whole structure and you ain't laid now foundation, you can have a structure that looks good, but it's out of order, so it's not going to be functional.
Right.
So it won't last. That's the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So going back to your previous analogy of when Urban Voice was created, the establishing of the order was setting it up as a not-for-profit organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
There was no way. So me, myself, so with the love and the passion, that can only get you so far. Yeah. But and many people, they're chasing the money, so they don't really look at that. Yeah, the love and the passion. But here's the trick. Because I had done that and everyone could feel the love. When you come to my event, I've had people 10, 20 years later saying, you know what, those events you put on back in the day, they were just dope, man. Because they knew I poured all of my love and energy into it. However, it could only take you so far. And so you got to pay attention, because life's going to give you an opportunity to take it to the next level. And that was what was given to me when someone suggested, why don't you, because I had to do something different, why don't you set up something? Because I could tell what I was doing was not going to get me where I wanted to get to. So they make a suggestion, but here's the faith in action. I didn't even know what a not-for-profit organization was, but I said yes to it. Faith in action.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as a result of taking that faith in action, then I found out, well, you can actually apply to the government. Now you've got a not-for-profit organization that's structured in the right way, so they know that it's not some Nigerian guy that's just trying to get some money doing a 419. Yeah. It's like, now you've got the structure, you've got directors, you've got this, you've got constitution, all of these things. Now you can apply for some big money. So we applied for 75,000. I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna happen. But faith in action, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know, like 10 years later, because when we got this money, I was like, what? Like, you can get money like this? So I was so excited, like, just give us the check, let's just do this project. And it was a dope project. We were doing like X Factor across the country for people of color and young kids. But I never understood. It was always a question that I had in my mind. Why did they give me the money? About 10 years later, I happened to meet someone who was working in the Arts Council, and I'm like, bro, you know, I got told that for you to get funding from the Arts Council, you have to be running your project for like 3 years and stuff.
Right.
How I get this 75,000? And you know what they told me? They said, Tony, we've been watching you. We see what you were doing, and we saw you were going to find a way to do it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we give you the money, that's something that we were now able to leverage off of your brand and what you were already doing. So we knew that to deliver that kind of project was going to probably cost 200 grand. Yeah. We would like to see that happen. So if we give you 75, we make it happen. We don't have to put the whole 200 grand. You're going to work and find the rest of the money. Everybody wins.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
And that comes on to point 5, which is commitment. So they saw your commitment.
Yeah. I was
your vision.
I was gonna make it happen.
Right.
One way or another. If I had, listen, I borrowed money. Like I borrowed money with crazy interest rates, and people were like, why you do that? But it was because I just wanted to make the next step realized. If I could just get the next step realized, then somebody else will see what I'm doing, and they'll come along and say, okay, can we collaborate? You know, you've seen some of the things that I've done.
Yeah.
You know, to the point that when I say to people that, back in 2001, I'm having a sponsorship deal with Nando's. This is a little guy from around the way in the council's flat in South London who just had a vision. How you get a sponsorship deal with Nando's
When they weren't doing any sponsorship deals.
I'm talking about when it was the very first Nando's in Brixton. That was it. And I'm sitting with a guy and he's telling me his grand vision that we're gonna go corporate, like we're gonna.
Right.
But in that stage, they needed branding. They needed people to catch the vision.
Yeah.
And so he saw what I was doing, and he saw that I was committed to my vision, and my vision could align with his vision. So people might say, well, what's the alignment? Come on, my audience was black people. We love chicken. And we promote, listen, anyone who knows business knows that if you can get brothers and sisters promoting your thing, it's good. But the other thing, I didn't even realize that they clocked. I had a £50,000 sponsorship deal with The Voice newspaper, the biggest long-standing newspaper for black people in this country.
Yeah.
So if he could have his brand saying, we're doing this X Factor kind of competition and the finals is taking place at this place and it's sponsored by Nando's, and so if he gives me, and the deal was he had to write a check, and he gave me like maybe, I don't know, £10,000 worth of food, right?
Yeah.
Now the food, if it's costing him, if it's got a value of £10,000, it's not costing him £10,000. It's probably costing him £2 grand. Yeah. And so let's say it's £2 grand, but it's written as 10,000, and he cuts me a check for £7.5 grand. He's paid 10 grand. Yeah. But he's getting £50,000 worth of advertising in The Voice newspaper, and it's all galvanizing to one event. That day when we had the finals, it was up at a venue in South London called Caesars, that's not there anymore. We had 400 people, the directors of The Voice newspaper, like bigwigs. They all coming and they're enjoying Nando's chicken. Job done.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I get you.
So my thing is bringing it all back together. If you're, as an individual, you're not even committed to you, because you can't commit to you because you don't know what you love, you don't know what you want, you don't demonstrate to yourself, prove to yourself and life that I'm committed. If you're not doing all of these things, how's it gonna work?
Right.
It can't work. By universal spiritual law, it can't work. So this is why at the Dada Success Academy, my and our whole thing is learn the things that they didn't teach you in school, college and university, that by universal law will take you towards success. The question is, do you want it? And that's the question that only you can answer. And actually, I'm asking the question, but I don't really want to hear the answer. Show me. If you really want it, if you're really about it, you'll make the moves that will let people know. Just like you. You know, we had our very first meeting when you said you wanted me to mentor, and you turned up late. I'm like, I heard what you said, but your actions completely different. So what do we do? No sweat, because it's not a problem. Like, need you to be bringing drama to my door. So we had a coffee. I paid for it. I said, "What do you want? Coffee, food?" And I'm like, "But you're not coming up into my office with that attitude. We don't operate like that." So if you want to do this, it's about discipline, it's about order, it's about structure. You choose. Do you want it? If you don't want it, we'll shake hands. I'll pay the bill. See you later. Have a good life. But you made the commitment and said, "I want it." The rest is history.
Okay.
So there's a lot more in the actual blog itself. I hope that you take the opportunity to read, because like I said, if you're really serious about it, then take the time to read, because the kind of stuff that we're sharing, especially for people who've come from where I've come from, which is on road, like no one really showed and broke these things down to me. There is a path to success, and we are bringing that knowledge system together in and through the Dada Success Academy. So the blog is at TonyDADA.com, right?
Yes.
Cool. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have you enjoyed it?
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. And we've had this great spot where we were able to shoot this on a day like this. This is great. I hope you enjoyed it. So till next time, it's from me, Tony Dada, your soul brother, and young Natty, saying enough love.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Peace out.